Ever feel like your creative spark gets lost in the millions of ideas that are running through your mind? Today, I'm sharing my journey and some tips on how to stay motivated as a neurodivergent artist. So let me tell you a bit about me. My name is Ali, and I am a mixed media Canadian artist, and I'm over 40, neurodivergent. I am self-diagnosed. It was basically through the diagnosis. It was through the process my oldest child went through their own diagnosis process, that I figured out and did my own research that I am also neurodivergent with ADHD and possibly autism. Because growing up as a child, I always knew there was something different, but I never knew quite what it was. But through this process that I went through 8 years ago, opened my eyes to basically what was different and learning how to adapt. And through those lessons that I learned even more about myself, and it really helped get me, learning more about myself and understanding what I need to be successful. And it was a long journey, and it's still, I'm still on it because these things don't disappear, but learning about the differences and how to adapt has been very helpful and empowering. So I'll share a little bit about my own self-diagnosis journey. It was basically started 8 years ago, and it was through my pediatrician checking over my oldest and pointing out that my oldest was showing signs of being on the spectrum. So the actual diagnosis did start 4 years later, and always had challenges as a child understanding and responding correctly to different communication, especially in elementary school. And having my oldest get the therapies and learning through therapists what was lacking and what was needed to teach step by step was incredibly eye-opening to see that finally there is an answer to those problems for myself. And learning through different therapists, speech therapists, how to break down storytelling, communication, step by step was incredibly helpful. It was also finally a relief as the therapist explained how my child's mind worked, opened up all the obstacles my oldest would face unless, there was the right help offered. Opened my eyes up to all the obstacles I had faced as a young, had to figure out on my own. It was a relief and with a bit of sadness that I wasn't able to get the support that I had needed when I was younger. But I was never one to feel stuck, and I always figured over the past 4 years I've been hyper-focusing and researching everything to do with autism and ADHD, and just everything I could get my hands on, I read and learned in order to help my child and help myself. To help my child and myself to understand and embrace our unique minds. I'm so grateful to finding out some answers to so many questions I had growing up. In this video, you will learn how to keep motivated and the challenges we face as a neurodivergent mind, and sharing my own life experiences on how to stay on track and driven. I call this section How to Understand the Neurodivergent Brain and How to Get Motivated. How does ADHD and autism shape my creative process? Because they're both challenges and distractions. Challenges in the process is basically overstimulation and distractions. How I overcome distractions is this room right here. I have a separate area where I do only video and my art. It's separate from the rest of the house, and I know this space is for work and work only. Also work out in this room, so I set timers to keep me on track so I don't get carried away with whatever I'm doing. I have a timer for how long I do my artwork, how long I do a workout. You get the idea. And my own secret tip is I use indoor shoes when I really need to get a lot of focus work done, I use indoor running shoes. The way I define distractions is basically when I switch from one task to the next. A distraction for my type of mind, neurodivergent, is when I have to switch from one task to the next. For example, being a parent and working from home, I tend to, it's hard to switch from parent mode to business artist mode. And it comes with challenges because sometimes I'll get carried away with my parenting role and spend more time than needed on what I need to do for a task, say cooking or cleaning. I'll take extra long because I'll get very focused into it and get into too many details, and when I should actually be filming and editing and doing something else. So that's one distraction. And the way I overcome this is basically this room here. I have a separate work area that is dedicated to whatever I need to do for myself, like working out, making art, creating content. So this is a separate room where I keep everything that I need to use to do all that in this room only. I don't take it outside. I don't take it downstairs, because I did try to do that, to multitask, but I ended up not doing it well. So having a separate space and coupled with timers and scheduling the time that I film, time that I work out. And my other tip, which I wanted to share with you, is using indoor shoes, because that just clicks in my mind to get the work done, and it works so well. So I highly recommend indoor shoes when you need a lot of work to do. So finding motivation, or the motivation puzzle, basically it's tricky because our energy levels fluctuate throughout the day. The overload and shifting interests are all things that we have to do. So the regular advice doesn't always work for a neurodivergent mind, and I'll share with you what works for me and may work for you. So when it comes to getting things done, I handle the hardest sort of tasks when I have the most energy. And sometimes, well, for me, it is the mornings I have the most energy. So I delegate the hardest tasks and I schedule it. I'll block off 1 to 2 hours to get it done so I don't feel stressed out as well. If I have to think of creative ideas, nighttime is my most creative thinking time. So I'll block out 1 to 2 days max, because, I am older. If I was younger, probably a whole week, I could stay up all night long, but don't do that. It's not good. So I schedule 2 days max to give myself time to be creative and just go and come up with all my different ideas during my high energy time for creativity is nighttime. When it comes to sensory overload, it depends on the task. For example, if I'm writing or planning a video, I will do that in the morning time when I know my kids are asleep and it's quiet in the house, because when I'm writing, it does take a lot of energy and focus, and even some noise of walking around can really distract me and overstimulate me, because I'm trying, to write out my thoughts, and there's a lot of them. So it just overstimulates me. So when it comes to sensory overload, the way I deal with it is when I have a task that really needs 100% focus and no interruptions, I choose either like early evening when my kids are asleep or when they're at school, because I know the home will be completely quiet and I won't be interrupted for a set amount of time that will give me enough time to get all my planning done and get all my writing done, because again, that takes a lot of energy from me and I need a lot of focus, and the less distractions, I can get it done faster and not feel pressured that, it's not going to get done the way I want it to be. And then leading to shifting interests. So I kind of briefly mentioned it with scheduling. So I'll emphasize again, I basically schedule things. I set up a schedule to only do one thing in a set amount of time or one thing a day, and I don't overload my schedule. For example, I will allow myself 1 week or maximum 10 days to complete one art piece. Because one thing I did do last year was I did multiple pieces in 1 week, and that basically led to art or creative burnout. So I learned my lesson, and 1 week or 10 days max to work on an art piece. This shift in my thinking and basically scheduling out sort of my creative activities really got rid of my burnout and actually freed my mind to be more creative and to come up with even more ideas because I wasn't burning myself out every single week. So, in understanding how a neurodivergent mind works has opened up my world, where adjusting my environment and adding items such as timers and indoor shoes, and not to mention the right type of music to get focused and to stay focused, has really helped me become more motivated, stay focused, and to get whatever I need done, and to make my day more productive. So here are some of my personal strategies for staying motivated. It's having a flexible routine, having a flexible schedule. So having a structured yet flexible schedule helps me to balance spontaneity and productivity. To summarize what I mentioned before is, with my own strategies, it's important to have some structure, but with some flexibility. As in your flexibility in your schedule. Don't overload it. Keep, 1 to 3 things max, and give yourself an extra hour to do things. I found that has helped me stay productive and not get, too anxious about making sure I get my task done within a set time frame. The main things are time blocking for creative sprints. Like I mentioned, staying up late 1 or 2 nights to, get the creative juices going and to get those creative ideas out there and written on paper. And that's another major tip too. Yes, there's a lot of digital planners and calendars, and they're very useful when you're on the go. But I find to make sure like a task gets, really in my mind, I have to write it on paper as well. So I keep a little notebook on me filled with so many lists and to-do lists. It's super helpful. So writing things down on paper is key as well for it to really stick in your mind. And as well, don't forget to even schedule break time and times to eat because, we all know we forget to drink water at times or to eat. So make sure to schedule breaks as well for your neurodivergent mind for your neurodivergent needs. So I hope these tips can help you along your journey as a creative entrepreneur and neurodivergent. It's a work in progress, but being productive isn't impossible. And with the right mindset and the right tools, anything is possible. And you can achieve your dreams and work in your dream job. Okay, see you next time. Bye.